The darkness was deep. The October wind carried the first poison of winter, and the moon hid behind clouds as if it too wished to avert its gaze from the work unfolding on earth. Lith was 9 years old, perhaps 10. He had no birth date, only the memory that he was born when the cotton was being harvested, under a tree at the edge of the field where his mother had birthed him. He was awake that night. Lying on a sack spread across the earthen floor of the cabin, his eyes searched for moonlight through the cracks in the roof. But sleep would not come. His mother, Ezra, slept beside him, her breath carrying that faint whistle that always came after a full day's labor. Then Lith heard footsteps. The footsteps were unfamiliar. Neither slave nor overseer. They were heavy, yet stealthy. Moving between the cabins, the sounds drew closer. Lith's breath stopped. He closed his eyes but kept his ears open. Then the door opened. A thin line of moonlight entered, and in that line stood a shadow. Tall. Silent. Through the flicker of his eyelashes, Lith saw something in the man's hand. A leather bag? A book. He did not stay long. His gaze swept over the sleeping people in the cabin, paused at an old whip hanging on the wall, then he turned and left. Lith dared to breathe again. Who was that man? Not an overseer. Their footsteps were more merciless. These were the footsteps of someone afraid. He rose. His bare feet stuck to the cold straw on the floor. Silently, he slipped outside. The man had moved ahead. Lith watched him walk toward the big house, but he did not enter. Instead, he slipped into the garden behind the house, where white people grew flowers and slaves were forbidden. Lith's legs trembled. If anyone saw him, if Overseer Thomas saw him, his hide would be flayed before morning. But his feet carried him forward. The man stood by an old well in the garden. He looked around, then dropped the thing in his hand into the well. A soft splash echoed, as if water had swallowed something heavy. The man glanced once at the sky, then hurried away. Lith did not see his face. But when the moon emerged from behind the clouds, he saw the gleam of threads on the man's coat. Golden threads. Only important men had golden threads on their clothes. Only the men who owned slaves. Lith ran back. His heart pounded in his chest like a bird trapped in a cage. As he lay down beside his mother, he thought, what did that man throw into the well? And why in the middle of the night? Morning came, and work began in the fields. Overseer Thomas sat on his horse, whip in hand. But something was different that day. A white man emerged from the big house. He spoke with Thomas. Lith recognized him. The same coat. The same golden threads. It was Master Nicholas. But why had he been out so late at night? As the day waned, commotion stirred in the big house. Slaves were summoned. Something had been lost inside Master Nicholas's private office, a ledger, they called it, and it was gone. It contained names. Many names. Names that no one was supposed to see. Lith remembered that night. The man. The well. But he could say nothing. Who would listen to a 9-year-old slave child? And if he told that he had seen the master dropping something into the well at night, the first whip would fall on his own back. So he remained silent. But what his eyes had seen burned into his mind like a brand on hot iron. And he did not know that this silence would one day change his life. Lith's story does not begin that night. His story begins with the soil where his mother knelt. Virginia, 1844. Or 1845. Dates were not kept for slaves. Ezra was working in the cotton field that day when the first sharp pain seized her belly. The sun was setting, and heat still rose like vapor from the earth. She placed her hand on her stomach and closed her eyes. Overseer Thomas saw her, but his face showed no change. Work, he said. Birthing children is your work, but picking cotton is also your work. Ezra gritted her teeth. She knew that if she stopped working, the whip would come. And if the child died, no one would care. Slave women were like machines, if one machine broke, bring another. But Ezra had to birth this child. She went to an old oak tree at the edge of the field. She called to an elderly woman working nearby, Lily. Lily was past 60, her back so bent she could not stand straight. But her hands held a power no overseer could understand, the power to pull life from death. Lily sat beside Ezra and took her hand. "Do not scream now," she said. "If you scream, Thomas will come and send you back to the field." Ezra squeezed Lily's fingers so hard the old woman's bones creaked. But she did not scream. She bit her lips and watched the cotton bushes swaying in the wind. She thought, "My child will be born on this soil where I am dying." Lith did not open his eyes to this world. He was in darkness. His first sound was not a cry, but a soft whimper, as if he knew that coming into this world was no cause for joy. Lily placed him against Ezra's chest. "The child lives," she said. Ezra opened her eyes and looked at her son. There was no joy in her eyes, only a strange weariness and a fear. She knew this child was not hers. This child belonged to Master Nicholas. Like her mother, her grandmother, her great-grandmother, all belonged to the Master. Thomas rode up on his horse. He looked at Ezra and the child, then struck the ground with his whip. "You stopped working," he said. His voice held no anger, only cold calculation. "No food tonight." Ezra said nothing. She sat holding her child to her breast, watching Thomas depart. When he was gone, she asked Lily, "What name shall I give this child?" Lily looked at the sky. The sun had set, and evening's redness was spreading. "There is no moon tonight," she said. "A dark night. Children born on such nights see what others cannot." Ezra looked at her son's small face. His eyes were closed, but his tiny fists were clenched, as if holding onto something. "Lith," she said. "It is a Hebrew name. My mother used to say it means, one who hides in darkness." And so Lith spent his first day on this earth on the soil where he would either die or live. No one knew which. Lith's first separation from his mother came when he was 3 months old. Ezra had to return to the fields. She would take Lith with her and lay him on an old cloth beneath the cotton bushes. When he cried, she would run and nurse him, but Thomas had warned her, "If you stop work even once, the child will feel the whip." Lith did not remember those days. But his mother remembered. In Ezra's memory, those days were etched like knife carvings. Sun, sweat, thorny cotton balls that tore fingers, and her son's cries echoing from a distance. When Lith learned to walk, he would run to his mother in the fields. One day he fell. His knee struck a stone and began to bleed. He cried. Ezra picked him up and began cleaning the wound. Then Thomas called out, "Take the child to the cabin and come back." Ezra carried Lith toward the cabin. She knew Thomas would not give her more than 10 minutes. She sat him inside, wrapped an old cloth around his knee, and looked at his face. "My son," she said. Her voice trembled. "You must live. You hear me? You must live. No matter what happens, you must live." Lith did not understand why his mother was crying. He reached out his small hand and wiped her tears. "Mama, don't cry," he said. Ezra took his hand and pressed it to her lips. Then she rose and ran back to the fields. That day, Lith first understood that being a mother meant more than love. It meant loving someone so much that leaving them killed you, yet you still left because if you didn't, you would both die. Lily had a hand in raising Lith. That old woman, with her bent back and clouded eyes, would sit with Lith and tell him stories. One night, when the moon was full and autumn's chill filled the air, Lily asked Lith, "Child, do you know who your grandfather was?" Lith shook his head. He did not know. "Your grandfather came from Africa," Lily said. Her voice was soft, as if sharing a secret. "They brought him bound on a ship. Crossed the ocean. My mother told me that when he came, his eyes held fire. He never laughed. Never." Lith looked at Lily. Why didn't he laugh? Because he left his land, left his languages, left his gods. They gave him a new name here, taught him a new language, showed him a new god. But he never changed. The fire remained in his eyes. Lily took Lith's hand. Her fingers were thin as bones, but strong. That same fire is in your eyes, child. I saw it the day you were born. You did not open your eyes, but you saw me. Lith did not understand. He was only a child. But Lily's words sank into his heart. At night, when everyone slept, she would tell him which plants cured pain, which leaves reduced fever, which roots were poison. This knowledge will serve you, she would say. White people have medicines, but they do not have the earth's knowledge. The earth is your mother. Know her. Lith began to know the earth. He knew which soil grew good cotton, which soil held water, which places snakes hid. He learned to recognize animal sounds, which meant danger, which meant peace. Lith was a quiet child. He spoke little, watched much. His eyes remembered everything, faces, colors, shadows, sounds. Lily once asked him, "Why do you stay silent?" Lith answered, "What use is speaking? No one listens." Lily laughed. Her laughter held no joy, only a bitter truth. You have learned a great thing very young, child. When Lith turned 5, he saw the big house. He had gone there with his mother to get corn. The big house was white, its pillars tall, its doors heavy. When Lith saw it, his heart skipped a beat. He had never seen such a large building. "Mama, who lives here?" he asked. Ezra squeezed his hand hard. "Quiet. Do not speak." They went inside, and Lith saw things he had never seen: glass, paintings, thick carpets, gleaming wood. He saw a woman sitting in a long gown, a book in her hand. This was Mrs. Agnes, Master Nicholas's wife. Mrs. Agnes looked at Ezra and her nose wrinkled as if smelling something foul. "Take the corn from outside," she said. "You'll spread dirt inside." Ezra bowed her head. "Yes, Mrs. Agnes." As they left, Lith looked at his mother's face. There were no emotions on her face, but in her eyes burned that fire Lily had told him about. That day, Lith first felt that he and his mother were something else, and those who lived in the big house were something else. He felt a wall between them, invisible but tangible. A wall made of blood, made of sweat, made of tears. Part 6, Overseer Thomas and his silent cruelty. Thomas's whip was famous. It was long, made of leather, its tip weighted with lead. When it fell, it tore flesh. But Thomas's real cruelty lay not in his whip. It lay in his eyes. Thomas never grew angry. He remained cold always, silent always. When he punished a slave, his face showed no emotion. He did it like cutting a tree or slaughtering an animal. Lith once saw him punish someone. A slave named Samuel had been caught trying to escape. Thomas tied him to a pillar in front of the big house. Then he raised his whip and began striking. 1, 2, 3, Lith stopped counting. Samuel's back streamed blood, and his screams echoed through the garden. But Thomas's face showed no change. He kept striking, evenly, with cold heart. When Samuel lost consciousness, Thomas lowered the whip, mounted his horse, and rode away. He did not look back. Lith could not sleep that night. In his eyes remained Samuel's back, his flowing blood, and Thomas's empty face. He asked his mother, "Mama, doesn't Thomas feel our pain?" Ezra pulled him close to her chest. Her voice was heavy. "No, my son. Their eyes do not see us. They think we are animals. And no one hears an animal's pain." When Lith turned 7, Lily began teaching him to read. This was a great crime. Teaching slaves to read was against the law. If anyone found out, Lily would be whipped, and Lith would likely be sold. But Lily did not care about these laws. "There are two kinds of power in the world, child," she said. "One is the power of the gun, one is the power of the pen. White people have both. We have nothing. But if you learn to read, you will have what they hide." Lily showed him an old Bible page she had hidden away. The page was torn, covered with spots, but the letters were clear. Lily taught Lith to recognize the letters. "This is A," she would say. "This is B, remember. Lith remembered. His mind absorbed letters like dry earth drinking water. At night, when everyone slept, he would look at that page and repeat the letters. His mother did not know. Lily had said, "Do not tell your mother. She will be afraid." Lith learned to read in silence. He learned to form words. Then sentences. Within a year, he could read that page. He understood that the Bible contained God's words, but those words were not written for slaves. The Bible said slaves should obey their masters. Lily looked at him and said, "These are words white people had written. The real God is different." Lith looked at Lily. "What is the real God like?" Lily closed her eyes. "The real God is the one your grandfather remembered in Africa. That God is in your veins, child. That God never dies." Lith noticed that sometimes lights burned in the big house at night. On such nights, Master Nicholas would come out and walk in the garden. Other white men would accompany him, riding on horses and talking late into the night. Lily told him these were politicians. "They make decisions," she said. "They decide where we will live, what we will eat, when we will die." On those nights, Lith tried to go near the big house. He would hide in the garden and try to listen to their conversations. One night, he heard Master Nicholas saying, "These slaves are our wealth. Without them, we are nothing." Another man said, "But those in the north want to end all this." Master Nicholas laughed. "If the northerners touch our wealth, we will cut their throats." Lith did not understand what "end all this" meant. But he felt their words were dangerous. He slipped back and ran to the cabin and went to sleep. When he woke in the morning, Lily was dead. Lily had died in her sleep during the night. When Ezra tried to wake her in the morning, she was cold. Her eyes were closed, and her face held a strange peace. When Lith saw her, he could not cry. His heart pounded as if it would burst, but not a single tear came from his eyes. He sat beside Lily and held her hand. In his memory were all her words, stories, plant names, alphabets, and that old Bible page. Thomas came and looked at Lily's body. "Bury her," he said. "Work must not stop." For the first time, Lith looked at Thomas with eyes that would have killed him. But he said nothing. He carried Lily's body toward the fields. Ezra helped him. They buried Lily under that oak tree where Lith had been born. When the earth was thrown over her, Ezra said, "Lily is free now." That day, Lith understood that death could also be freedom. And he thought, "Can I only be free after dying?" At 8 years old, Lith began working in the fields. His small hands would get caught in cotton bushes, thorns cutting his fingers. But he could not cry. If he cried, Thomas would think him lazy. Cotton season was long. Standing in the sun from morning to evening, back bent, bags filling. Lith's back began to ache, but he kept working. He watched how his mother worked. She picked more cotton than anyone, but never received any praise. One day Lith asked, "Mama, we work so hard, but we get nothing. Those people sit in the big house and eat the fruit of our labor. How is this?" Ezra silenced him. "Do not speak such things. Such words will kill you." Lith fell silent, but the question circled in his mind. He remembered Lily's words, "The earth is your mother." But this earth was not his. This earth belonged to Master Nicholas. The cotton growing on it also belonged to Master Nicholas. And he himself belonged to Master Nicholas. Lith felt that he was a thing, not a human. In the big house lived Master Nicholas's son, William. He was a little older than Lith, perhaps 12 or 13. William would sometimes come to the garden and watch the slaves working. His eyes held the same coldness as Thomas's. One day William came to Lith while he was drawing water from the well. William looked at him and asked, "What is your name?" Lith bowed his head. "Lith, sir." William studied his face. "You seem my age. Do you like to play?" Lith did not understand what he was saying. He had never played. "No, sir," he said. William laughed. "You are a slave, you don't know how to play." I understand. When he left, Lith felt strange. He did not know why William had looked at him. Was he mocking him? Or something else? Ezra later told him, William is your master. He can sell you, beat you, or give you something whenever he wants. Stay away from him. Lith learned to stay away from William. But William's eyes continued to follow him. Lith was now 9. Many things were stored in his memory: fields, cotton, his mother's sweat, Thomas's whip, Lily's stories, and that old Bible page. But the night he saw Master Nicholas drop something into the well changed his life. When commotion arose in the big house the next day and the ledger was found missing, Lith thought, was that the thing the master dropped into the well. He went to the well. He peered inside. The water was black, deep, its bottom invisible. He thought that if he went inside, perhaps he would find that thing. But the water was cold, and the darkness frightened him. He returned, and his mother saw him. Where were you? Lith lied, working. Ezra looked at his face. Something flickered in her eyes, suspicion. Fear? But she said nothing. At night, when everyone slept, Lith took out Lily's old Bible page. He looked at it and read, "And the truth shall make you free." He thought, what is this truth? And will it really make me free? A few days later, Thomas called Lith. He stood in the barn, whip in hand. Lith's heart began to race. He knew something was wrong. Thomas said, "Where do you go at night?" Lith answered, "Nowhere, sir. I sleep." Thomas's eyes narrowed. "I have seen you. You go near the well." "Why?" Lith's mind raced. He had to say something, make some excuse. "I get water, sir. I get thirsty at night." Thomas remained silent. He stared at Lith's face. Then he raised his whip and struck the ground near Lith's feet. A loud crack echoed. "Do not lie," Thomas said. His voice held no anger, only that same coldness. "I know you are hiding something. And I will find it." Lith ran back. His breath came in gasps. He knew Thomas suspected him. If he found out that he had seen the master, he would die. Lith decided he must go into the well. One night, when there was no moon and the wind was cold, he slipped out of the cabin. In his hand was a rope he had stolen from the barn. He went to the well and tied the rope around his waist. The other end he tied to a stone near the well. He took a deep breath and began descending into the well. The water was cold, like ice. When he reached it, he dipped his feet in. His whole body shook. He put his hands in the water and began searching. His fingers touched mud, stones, some old root. Then his fingers touched something leathery. He grasped it. It was heavy. He pulled it from the water and hid it in his shirt. Then he grabbed the rope and began climbing up. His hands burned, his legs trembled, but he kept climbing. When he reached the top, he collapsed on the ground. He was soaked, cold, exhausted. But he had that thing. He ran to the cabin. His mother was sleeping. He hid the thing under his sack and lay down. His heart pounded as if it would burst. In the morning, when the sun rose, Lith looked at the thing. It was a ledger, thick leather cover, golden letters on it. When he opened it, inside were papers, handwritten. A list of names. Hundreds of names. Lith began to read. The names Lith saw in that ledger were not just names. With them were dates, prices, notes. Beside some names was written, "Deceased." Beside others, "Sold." Beside others, "Ran away, caught." Lith searched for his mother's name. He found it. Ezra. Beside it was written, "Born, 1827, purchased, $500, offspring, Lith, 1844. He saw his own name. Beside it was written, "Born, 1844, value, $300, note, strong, healthy, fit for work." Lith felt that his value was $300. He was cheaper than a horse, cheaper than an ox. He read on. Beside some names was written, "Freed." But those names were very few. Most had deceased written beside them. Then he looked at the last pages. There it said, confidential report. In it were the names of slaves who had tried to escape, who had opposed the master, who had been punished. Among them was Lily's name. Beside Lily's name was written, dangerous, rebellious thoughts, surveillance necessary. Lith understood why Lily had been afraid. He knew this ledger could change his life, or end it. A few days later, Ezra saw the ledger. Lith was trying to hide it, but his mother's eyes were sharp. "What is this?" she asked. Her voice trembled. Lith told her. Everything. Master Nicholas's night, the well, the ledger, the names. Ezra looked at the ledger. She saw her own name. There were no tears in her eyes, only a strange light. "This book could free us," she said. "Or kill us." Lith asked, "How?" Ezra told him, "This book tells who we are. It tells how much we are worth. It tells who died, who ran away, who was sold. It is everything. If it falls into someone else's hands, some white man who is our friend, then perhaps." But they knew no white man was their friend. Thomas discovered that someone had gone into the well. He had seen the rope. He began searching the slave cabins. One night, as Lith and Ezra slept, the door burst open. Thomas entered, lantern in hand. His eyes held that same coldness. "Get up," he said. Everyone sat up. Thomas looked in every corner of the cabin, overturned every sack, examined every crack. Lith's heart pounded in his chest as if it would burst. The ledger was under his sack. If Thomas saw it. Thomas approached that sack. He lifted it. Lith closed his eyes. Then a voice came from outside, "Thomas. The master calls you." Thomas put the sack down and went out. Lith breathed. He was saved. But he knew Thomas would return. Ezra decided the time had come. The ledger must be hidden somewhere safe. Or given to someone who could help them. But who? Lith had heard a name, Mr. Abel, a white man who sometimes came to the garden. He was not like the other white men. He spoke to slaves, asked their names, asked about their illnesses. Lily had said he was a Quaker, among those who opposed slavery. Ezra said, "We will give this ledger to Mr. Abel." Lith asked, "Will he help us?" Ezra said, "I do not know. But this is our only chance." Lith found Mr. Abel. He was sitting in the garden, reading a book. Lith approached him. His legs trembled. "Mr. Abel," he said. Mr. Abel looked up. Surprise filled his eyes. "Who are you, child?" Lith said, "My name is Lith. I have something you should see." Mr. Abel looked at him. Then he said, "What is it?" Lith gave him the ledger. Mr. Abel opened it and began reading. His face changed. His eyes widened. He looked at Lith. "Do you know what this is?" Lith said, "Names. Our names." Mr. Abel was silent. Then he said, "This book could free many people, child. But it could also kill you." Lith said, "I am not afraid to die." Mr. Abel looked at his face. Tears filled his eyes. "You are brave, child. Very brave." Mr. Abel promised he would take the ledger north, where there were people who wanted to end slavery. He said, "This book is evidence. It will show how many were killed, how many sold, how many ran away. It can bring justice." Lith asked, "And us?" Mr. Abel said, "You will remain here. But when this book reaches the north, perhaps those people can also free you." Lith did not believe it. But he had no other choice. Mr. Abel left. The ledger went with him. Lith watched him go and thought, perhaps Lily's spirit still lives. Perhaps she showed me this path. Days passed. Months passed. Thomas searched but found nothing. Master Nicholas grew anxious. He knew the ledger was somewhere, but did not know where. Lith remained silent. He worked, picked cotton, poured sweat. But one thought circled in his mind: did Mr. Abel reach the north? Did he give the ledger to those people? Will they come? One winter night, as snow fell and death's cold filled the air, a knock came at the door. Lith opened it to find a man standing outside. He was white, but his clothes were torn and his face weary. "Are you Lith?" he asked. Lith nodded. The man handed him a paper. On it was written, "Lith, son of Ezra. 1844, free." When Lith read it, tears streamed from his eyes. The paper trembled in his hands. The man said, "Mr. Abel sent this for you. The ledger reached the north. It freed many people. You are also free, Lith. You are no one slave now." Lith turned to look at his mother. Ezra was crying. They embraced each other. That night, Lith and Ezra left the cabin. The man took them north. Along the way, they saw many hardships: hunger, cold, fear. But they kept walking. When they reached the north, they saw a new world. There were no slaves there. There, they were considered human. For the first time, Lith felt that his life was worth more than $300. No one came. Years later, when Lith had grown old, he told his children and grandchildren that story. He told them how he had pulled the ledger from the well, how he had given it to Mr. Abel, how he had become free. His children asked, "Where is that ledger now?" Lith said, "I do not know. Perhaps in some museum, perhaps in someone's house, perhaps lost. But the names in it will live forever. Today, that ledger is nowhere. Perhaps burned, perhaps lost, perhaps gathering dust in some basement. But the echo of those names can still be heard, the slaves who picked cotton, poured sweat, and died in silence." Lith lived. He lived a long life, had children, had grandchildren. But he never forgot where he came from. He never forgot Lily, who taught him to read and then departed. He never forgot his mother, who taught him to live. And he never forgot that night, when he saw the master drop that ledger into the well, the ledger that set him free. This is the story of millions whose names have vanished from history's pages. Whose life's worth was written in a ledger, and who vanished when that ledger was lost. But their spirits live on, in those cotton fields, under those trees where they bore their children, on those paths where they ran, in those wells where they hid their secrets. And when night falls, and the moon hides behind clouds, their voices can be heard, humming, crying, singing. And whoever listens with attentive ears can hear them. We existed, they say. We were here. We labored, we loved, we suffered. Our memories are buried in this soil. And when you walk on this soil, we are beneath your feet.